All right, welcome back to another Monday night, or at least another Monday night of Storm King's Thunder. We've gone a little bit, had some work obligations, we had some time off, we had some, I actually had some basement flooding, so I feel a lot closer to PB now at the moment, as I had to clean all that up in the last 2 days. Though I did not have to tear off my drywall, so I'm happy about that. That's too much work to have to do. But we're all back, and we've got a great show tonight and a great game, and we're going to go ahead and pick up. I did want to tell everybody that has been joining the game, if you're watching this on Twitch, SirLucien channel, or you can watch it on, sometimes the players will also stream their point of view. So you can check out either PB Plays Inside, Greybeard's Tavern on Twitch, PB Plays Inside on YouTube, and Colonel, I believe, does the other one I'm forgetting. Mixer. So we kind of cover all of the bases at some point to see this game. And if you missed that, you can still find the VODs on SirLucien at YouTube. I'm sorry, SirLucien and Twitch. Or you can go and see the videos on YouTube on my SirLucien channel also. So you can just search for that. You will see it. To get caught up in our sessions, you have 43 of them you can go back and get caught up in, as we are on number 44, making our way to the big 50. All right, to clean up just some other changes that are going to be happening before we jump into our game real quick. I don't want to take too much time. We have planned a lot more content coming for any of you that want to continue to watch the channel. We have additional Storm King's Thunder content, additional Black Door campaign. We have some others that are in the works of getting started, and we'll see if those are going to be streamed or at least live cast, broadcast, and we'll let you know about that. We are going to do an every other Monday night for Storm King's Thunder to allow us more games to host and play in and do things with. So keep an eye on that. I guess I didn't ask Tigray, is it going to be all right if I stream the player perspective, or are you keeping this one offline? Nope.
Yeah,
okay,
you can
good.
stream it.
Awesome. So Monday nights are going to be, every other Monday night is going to be Storm King's Thunder, and then it's going to be a new, not even announced, you guys are like getting the special announcement here, a Dark Tides campaign. I won't say anything more about that, but you will be able to see it in the near future. Then on the Thursday night, we have every other Thursday is going to be Black Door campaign, and then a second portion of the Storm King's Thunder, where we see more of that action. So we're going to get lots of Storm King's Thunder, and then hopefully we have some other announcements to make on either other nights, where we will be playing additional campaigns that are getting ready to get started. Maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or two before those get going, but they are very close, and or possibly even some weekend broadcasting. And keep your eyes out, because I still will do one-shots. We had a really fun one-shot about a week ago where we played Hestia as Familia, and I'm hoping we get back to that with a couple of games, just like we did with the McLancy Waddle Smiles one shot, where we did 2 sessions of that, which was super fun. So if you like Dungeons and Dragons, if you like these characters, you are going to have plenty to watch and enjoy as we go. And if you're not only a Dungeons and Dragons fan, stay tuned, because we're also going to be playing some of the other games that are out there, not just Dungeons and Dragons. So we're going to cover the whole gambit. All right, channel updates out of the way. Eventually I'll start posting this stuff somewhere where people can see it. Probably on my Twitter feed is probably one place you'll see those things. That's where I can think of right now. We don't have anything else. Maybe a web page will be designed at some point, but who knows? I ain't got time for all that stuff. I got to build adventures for all these adventurers. So we'll get going. So now let's bring us back into where we were and do a little recap of my window, which is not currently working. Let's see why that is. Oh, I bet it's because it's picking up one of these other... Sometimes it does that. There it goes. That's what I needed. Now everybody can see where our players are. So let's recap what had happened, because I know it's been several weeks since the last time you guys saw this map, and we need to catch up on where some of our players are or what they are doing. So in the last episode, you will remember that our players had just finished another battle with 2 fire giants and allies who had approached and tried to attack the challenging, or the bellowed challenge of Harshnag, their allied giant, and a great battle ensued out in front of this cave system. They were following the tracks of the force of fire giants who had raised Zymorvan Hall and looked like they had maybe taken something from there, dragging footprints of prisoners and such. Our ranger Ian was able to track them west across the river into the mountains and found them in this area at the back of basically a large crevasse inside the mountains. After defeating that, they decided to go up to the caves to find the human captives and entered the cave just as they walked in, realizing that the caves were not empty and that there was a full-on group of humanoids crouched in the shadows, sitting in the back here, and we were waiting to see what was about to happen. So this was all happening in seconds as they noticed the hobgoblins arrayed in front of them. We had Finn, our paladin, and Greybeard enter the cavern, while the rest of our party was outside thinking about what they were going to do. And Harshnag was looking at the front entrance of this cave, realizing he could not fit to get inside of the cave. So the cave entrance was too small for Harshnag to be able to maneuver through into these caves. Also, we're going to be bringing back in Jarral, who has finished some personal business that he had where he had left the group several sessions ago and will be rejoining. He, in kind of a cutscene, has been traveling overland and heading to the last place he heard where the 6 were, our group, and that was at, let me go to my map so we know where he's heading to. We'll show you guys here for just a moment. He's heading to Silvery Moon, which is the last place he heard they were. And what we're probably going to do, and I haven't even told Colonel this too much yet, we haven't talked about it yet, but I'm hoping to do maybe a one-shot at some time down the road where we flash back to what actually was Jarral doing at some point. In this part of the storyline, he's trying to catch back up with his group. Whatever's happened in this personal endeavor he is definitely going to be very closed mouth about it, and it seems to be something deeply personal that's happened, and maybe is not quite ready to talk about it, or even maybe what's the word? Not deal with it, but confront it or absorb it, or process it. Maybe he's in the part of denial for now and is just ready to meet up with his friends once again. And he's in an overland track to Silvery Moon. So that should have us all caught up to where we were. We did have a couple of players that were going to join a tiny bit late. I see Spammy is showing up in Discord, so that's good. And I know Logan said he wouldn't be too far behind, so our Paladin should be here pretty soon. Okay, players. We had rolled initiative and left in suspense what was going to happen with Coffee being at the top of the order. Logan said he would hold his turn and to the bottom of the order and just attack or react to whatever's going on. So he's going to be at the very bottom of the order. So his turn will actually happen after Ian has decided what she's going to do. Let's set the scene a little bit more as we walk in. So Coffee, who's at the top of our order and will be able to start us off tonight in our session, which is so good because I've been so excited to play Dungeons and Dragons and get back to this, so I've been super itching to get going. So, Coffee, a raid before you, as you recall, this is the cave opening that you saw originally the 2 fire giants were standing in front of. When Harshnag bellowed his challenge to them, they turned and then accepted his challenge, charged down at him. And there were several creatures that followed with him that attacked your group. Your group took it to them, battled through them, and then went to these caves to what you had assumed is where they were keeping the prisoners. You can see over Ian and Greybeard at this point, you can see some figures that are crouched with crossbows pointed towards the front of the cave. They have not fired currently. It is dark inside the cave. There is sunlight outside for the most part, but I wanted to put in the dynamic lighting of the cave. That's why you can only see the cave. Did I make it so you could see the whole outside? I guess I didn't. So you can assume that outside of the cave is still sunlight. So to your left and to your right is just cliff face. This looks like you can see some old tracks, and it's clear that this must have been at some point a mine. As you can see, discarded equipment laying around that looks like it's pretty old. So it looks like this is some type of old abandoned mine that you're standing in front of. And I'm showing right now our viewers the view that Coffee can see into the cave. You do see Finn and Greybeard to the front, and they are definitely up closer. So, starting us off, what would you like to do?
All right, Coffee will go into Blade Song.
Okay.
And then he will cast Sleep from right in between all these dudes.
Give me a second. Blade Song. Yep, there we go.
And I'm going to cast it at 2nd level.
Okay. Here, yep, go ahead, and here's the first thing that's going to happen. So that's going to be on a 10. So describe what the spell looks like as you begin to cast it.
For this one, it's going to be he's doing his somatic and his verbal.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of starts shimmering in the cave, kind of like particle effects, little will-o-wisps falling down in that 20 radius.
Okay. And immediately, what you notice is something starts to go wrong with the spell. And you can tell, give me an arcane check as you realize something's happening. Something's interfering with your spell.
Okay.
Yeah. You realized your spell has just been counterspelled.
What?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that changes things.
Oh, I bet it does. All right.
I'm going to yell to Greybeard and Finn, "Care, there's a wizard," as I run to the side here.
Okay. Yeah, so you still have movement. Your Blade Song is up. The spell inside the cave diminishes. And let's see. I see Logan. One of the hobgoblins here. Were you able to see that? Let me bring this guy in. Where is he? GM info layer. There you are. Token layer. There was a guy right here at the back that counters that spell. And then is basically kind of pressed up against the stone. And you see him making the semantic gestures for the counter. He's this guy here in the back.
Okay, got it.
And then he's kind of like 3/4 just pressed up against that stone for cover, but kept an eye on what you were doing. Another gentleman steps out from that spot another hobgoblin. Let me grab this guy and put him here and move him to your lair. And this one is wearing plate armor and definitely walks with authority and begins to walk. Just takes a step or two, because this is all happening in within 6 seconds of a turn. Takes a step or two towards the front as your turn's going on. Hasn't quite done anything yet. That will bring us to Finn. Are you online in here?
Yep.
Awesome. So you see the spell you see some spell effects happen in front of you, but you're maybe not quite sure what or who did it. You have noticed that the hobgoblins are staring at you, crossbows trained on you and Greybeard at the front of the the cavern. A person that looks and walks with authority appears to have moved out of cover and is making a move, not a run or doesn't have weapons out or anything, but is walking, starts to take a few steps confidently towards the front of the cavern. Obviously, you can hear noises coming from each of these outcrops here. It's obvious that they have more. You hear the rustling of armor. You hear the rustling of weapons. You can hear the taut string of these crossbows that have been cranked up and wound. But nobody has fired or done anything at you yet. It is your turn.
I will step forward 10 feet and say in common, what is your dealing with the giant? Giants, plural.
Okay. And this hobgoblin here is going to continue to move forward, and he begins to answer you. I want to make sure that I give the other person I want to give a chance to do something is Greybeard here. Greybeard, what are you going to do when this 6 seconds as Finn has moved forward and begins to talk, and it looks like a hobgoblin captain is moving forward to converse with him? I want to know if you're going to do something crazy or not. I guess.
Do you hate hobgoblins like Finn hates orcs?
No, not necessarily. But I do hate not being raged when I get hit with crossbow bolts. I guess I'll just step behind this barrel.
Okay.
Just to get some cover.
Yeah, and as you're doing that, are you trying to do it on the sly? Are you doing it like just you're just like, I don't care if they see me or not? What's this look like?
I don't care if they see me or not. I'm like looking at crossbows, looking at Finn like, you're crazy, man. And then I just kind of get behind the barrel.
Dude, you can totally hide behind me. I will not mock you later. Much.
And where, just so I'm sure, because I don't have the lion on here. Did we?
I wasn't quite sure about
hit?
riding. No, he's still up. I wasn't sure about riding him into a mine though, so I'm gonna guesstimate that he's probably not inside with me.
Okay, we'll say he's outside with Harshnag and them, waiting to see what's happening. Maybe tense because you feeling your tension. He's a little tense also, but waiting to see what's going to happen. Okay, so yeah, this hobgoblin in common walks forward, and he kind of says, it would appear that the fire giants I was dealing with, the deal is off, as you have taken care of that issue. I believe we have no quarrel with you, pointy ears or short one. It seems like we could part our ways and bloodshed would not have to be taken this day.
Okay, and as an aside, last time we played, did we decide that the prisoners were not with the fire giants at that point?
The fire giants did not bring any prisoners outside of the cave. The tracks led into the cave, and that's when you started to move in, but you do not see currently any sign of prisoners.
Okay, the tracks of the prisoners led into the cave, or the tracks of the fire giants led to the cave?
Both.
I'll say, we seek the prisoners that the fire giants brought.
And he's kind of gonna stand here, and he's gonna pace as he begins to talk to you. And you can tell he's looking your armor and your weapons up and down. He's judging Greybeard as he looks at him, and he's just kind of pacing as he talks to you. And he says,
"Oh,
well,
can I
go ahead.
pause you then?
Yep.
I'm gonna mentally tell Nod to roar, and then have him say, have Harshnag bend down and look into the door.
Okay.
Because I can communicate mentally with Nod.
Okay. Oh, and he's going to talk to Harshnag, is what you're saying.
I don't care if we talk to him. I just want him to see the fact that there's a big old giant standing outside going to crush him like bugs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so he's pacing and he's looking at you, and he has go ahead and roll an insight check for me as you're looking at him. And actually, Greybeard can also. Probably the rest aren't quite close enough to get too much, unless they were a little closer. So Greybeard can roll one too.
Insight, one of my strong suits.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Nicely done. All right. So Greybeard, you're definitely picking up. He seems to be sizing you up, but respectfully also, as in, he's not sneering at you. He doesn't have that overconfidence look. He has a tense look to him. But it also is you can tell this is a person who is used to commanding, and these troops look well honed. Like this is a part of some type of battle group or a cohort, or actually, yeah, your insight would be you actually know that hobgoblins typically group themselves into what a big group of them would be called a legion, and then smaller groups of them would be banners. Okay. And that you can tell this is a pretty experienced group you're looking at, probably smaller than a banner, but definitely part of somebody's banner, some hobgoblin's banner, and it was probably attached to a legion at that point, but you're not, that's about as much as you've seen.
Okay.
So he says, so the captain looks at you, Finn, and says, well, you are impressive. I believe you were able to fell both of those fire giants within 2 minutes of battle. That's a feat that not many could duplicate. And he kind of looks at his men, who all are staring at you, keeping their hands on their weapons, but not pulled out, except for the guys with the crossbows. They're pointed, but the other group have their hands are empty. And he says, if it comes to battle, there will be plenty of bloodshed. I'm pretty sure your group could take my banner, but it will take one or two with you. Are those humans worth that?
They are. And if you give them to us, there's no further need of bloodshed.
Yeah, he begins to pace again. He says, well, we don't actually need these slaves that were presented to us by... actually, I have the name of that fire giant. Let me go back to it because I've forgotten. Gortok. It wasn't as if we asked for slaves. Gortok and his crew felt it would smooth relations if he were to offer them to us. And he gestures to this area here, and you at that point can see from the darkness. Let's bring out a couple of people here. These two hobgoblins, he gives them a sign or a signal using his hand, and you see two of these hobgoblins, and behind them, back in this corridor, you definitely get you can see the shapes of several humans, which appear to be probably bound, and are probably the human prisoners from Zymorvan. And he says, well, we have no quarrel with you. it appears with your slaying of Gortok and his what would his group have been called? Well, slaying of Gortok and his fellows, that we now no longer have any deal with them. I see no reason you cannot have these humans back. And he begins to let them kind of file towards you. And they all just kind of start filing out. And you see several humans, I didn't put any tokens on here, but several humans begin to kind of exit the cave. And their hands are bound. They have like bags over their heads. And it looks like their feet have been shackled too. And they begin to come out from the cave entrance on this side. As you see that, he gives another hand signal, and these groups of hobgoblins then begin to move, keeping their eyes on you, but begin to move towards the back of the cave. And you see them kind of begin to file towards the back. He says, then the deal is done. You can have these slaves of Gortok returned. There is no quarrel with our banner and the pointy folk or the dwarfs. Each of us will move on our way.
This is all of them?
That's a great question because you don't know actually how many prisoners there were. So he says to you, this is all of them.
Do I get any perception on that? Is he lying to me?
You can do an insight check on him. Yeah.
By the way, when I was behind the barrel, I slipped my shield off my back, onto my left arm.
Okay. Yeah, he appears to be telling you the truth. He does not appear to be deceiving you.
I'll say, what is your name, so that I may recount this tale of your honor?
He gives you kind of a head nod and says to you, Captain Bladeheart of the Bloodhawk banner. I imagine if we were to meet again upon the field, I'm sure we will be clashing swords. But somebody who can take down giants such as you, that will be an honor I will worth to have under my belt.
Agreed. And I recommend that you find different friends than the fire giants.
Yeah, he gives you a smile, a kind of a smirk, and then the hand signal is you see his troops kind of, and it looks very practiced, the very professional style of, they are definitely part of an army and of a martial group. The crossbows are kind of covering the ones that are retreating in the back, and then they are moving towards the back of the cave. And it looks like these caves go quite deep into the mountain. And then also you see the hobgoblins on the left here begin to move several wargs to the back of the cave. And the wargs look like they want to push past the hobgoblins. They're snarling, and when they see you, and they're sniffing the air, snapping their jaws, but they seem to be, they're able to corral them deeper into the caves.
Can hear a nod outside saying, I smell cats. More cats outside or inside. We need to go in.
It's dogs, but yeah.
Oh no, they're cats. I know they're cats.
Yeah. Nice. Let me get this one on the right layer. Token layer. There we go. And they begin to disappear into the darkness of this mine. Anybody else at this point can interact or do things also if they wish, as these guys begin to slowly move.
Could you add me to the map?
Good question.
Shit, Colonel. Good to have you back. Didn't see you there.
Thank you.
Greybeard with shield in hand, backs out, following the prisoners.
Okay. Yeah, let me give you, let me put the Storm King's Thunder tokens. There's a Jarral token. All right, and that will be Jarl's character. Oh, and probably needs vision of some sort. Player has sight. Probably 60 for now. All right, there. Yeah, you should be able to see some. All right. The prisoners you're seeing as they come out, you see what appears to be an older gentleman, human. You also see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 other, looks like human males. And then a old woman also is being escorted out. And they're probably at the point where they're next to Finn at this point, as the hobgoblins begin to move to the back of the cave.
I'll stand there until they're all passed.
Yeah. So they all start kind of filing out. Well, they can't really see too much. The hobgoblins kind of escort them to that wagon that's overturned at the front, which is what they were kind of hiding behind. And then they're kind of standing there. They can't really see anything. They're probably right at this point where they were escorted to.
I'll just point out to the door to them. Keep an eye on the hobgoblins.
They have bags on their head.
Okay. Are they chained together in like a gang?
No, but it does look like their hands are tied together in the front by some rope, and it looks like their feet are forced to shuffle because there's rope tied to them, although not tight enough that they can't walk, but definitely it's like more of a shuffling walk than a full walk.
Okay, well, I'll step forward even farther and just tell Nod to tell everybody out in the back to have someone come in and help escort them out.
Okay. So, yeah, on the outside, we see Ardreth, we see Ian, Coffee. Where's my character sheet list?
Edrim will go in.
Edrim. That was the name I was forgetting. And Edrim, you hear Nod say, look to you and say, well, go ahead. Go ahead, Finn. You're playing Nod.
He wants someone to come in and help the prisoners out.
All right, I'll do it.
All right, Edrim. Yeah, you move in and you see these prisoners as they begin to. They've got bags on their heads, tied hands, tied feet, and they're standing right next to this wagon.
And how many are there?
There are 4 men and one kind of crouched over woman who seems to have trouble walking.
All right, I'll take the bags off their heads, and then I'll lead them out towards where Harshnag is.
Okay. Yeah, you can see him kind of blink at the light that's streaming in from the cave entrance, and you can see relief in their eyes as they kind of make eye contact with you. They could hear, but now seeing you has really kind of sunk it in. You definitely see a human man. Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 human men and 1 old lady is at the back, and seems to be walking forward, but she's having a really tough time. It seems like maybe there's something wrong with maybe one of her legs or something with a foot or an ankle of some sort, but she's having a real hard time moving forward.
Okay.
And one of them speaks to you and just says thank you as they begin to move out of the cave, and they look like they want to move out as quickly as possible. So they're following your instructions and begin to move out of the cave.
I'll wait towards the entrance area
Okay.
and can start to apply basic first aid. But given where the party's at and the closeness of the hobgoblins, I'm going to hold off on using up healing spells.
Okay. Yeah, so they all come out, and within probably just a minute or so, all these hobgoblins have disappeared into the darkness at that point, at the back of the cave. Looks like the caves run pretty deep. On the inside, for Finn and Greybeard, it's obvious that this was an abandoned mine. Like, there are a few things, all of the tools and barrels and things seem to be pretty old, smashed, broken, no longer used. It does not look like it's a mine that's in use any longer. And from the echoing down from the cave that the hobgoblins have left, you hear Bladeheart's voice one more time, Finn, and says, "Oh, and I would leave the barrels at the front of the cave alone." And then it kind of echoes off, and then it no longer can you hear them retreating.
Okay.
In Greybeard, you probably think, now that you're standing next to it, you actually think that it might have just moved a little bit.
Okay, cool.
All right, so the prisoners are outside with the rest of the group. Ardreth has cut ropes and is administering scrapes and bruises. It looks like most of them just have scrapes and bruises on their hands, their knees, maybe their shins. It looks like they've been forced to travel. It looks like if maybe they were falling behind, they might have been kicked and they brought back up and kept to move. So they've got the wounds of people that were forced to march. When you're looking at the older lady, it appears that it's probably just a hereditary thing or something she's lived with most of her life, that there's something wrong with her leg and knee, and one of the things it makes her that it's kind of hard for her to walk, and it's probably been this way all of her life. It doesn't look like it's something recent. It looks like something she's lived with most of her life.
But magic healing can't cure it?
Apparently not.
Welcome to Harnmaster.
It'll heal wounds, but it won't heal, a genetic defect.
I ask one of the humans if this is all of them.
Yeah, the main human, a little taller than the others, and appears to try to hold himself with a little more authority, kind of bows to you and introduces himself as Harthos, Lord of the Zymorvan Tower. And he looks and says, "Yes, these were my attendants. And he kind of points out his scribe, his stable hand, which is a younger man, a cook, a musician that would play at Zymorvan Hall, and then he just kind of points over to the older woman, which they kind of refer to her as the old witch, who seems to be pretty grumpy and cranky.
What was she doing at Zymorvan Hall?
Harthos kind of looks to you and says, she grew up in Zymorvan Hall, came from the swamps. She knows how to make remedies and poultices, usually helped with, minor cuts and scrapes, fevers and colds. Every town, every small village always has someone there to help with ailments and maladies.
You'd think you'd find a more honorific term than old witch. I'll walk away from him.
and he looks to you and he says, "Well, wait till you've been around her for a while," under his breath.
I asked them if they've eaten
Nice.
recently.
No, he says to you, if he's not even sure how many days they've been traveling. He doesn't know even where they're at. As he's looking around at the end of this cave, he says, how far are we from Zymorvan Hall? And he's like waiting, if you're offering food, he's taking it and passing it out to the rest of his group.
Yeah, I dig into our supplies in my bag of holding and make sure everybody gets food and water.
Okay.
I have no idea how far away we are. We are insert amount here, days away from Zymorvan Hall.
Yeah, I'll bring the map up and remind, because you would remember, you are probably...
Like a couple of days, aren't we?
Yeah, it's like you're not far as the crow flies, but you do have to go back out of the mountains, cross the river, and then go across the plains back over. So it's about 2 days of walk, maybe depending on how fast you can move. If you're moving at her speed, the older lady's speed, it's probably going to take longer. If you're moving just with your group speed, it's probably a 2-day travel. It might be 3 days with this group of freed prisoners, is what you're thinking in your head.
I'll let the old lady ride on my pony with me.
Yeah, see? It's fine. We're fine.
Is that a euphemism?
I was gonna say, in her culture, I think that means you just got married, Greybeard.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
think so. So I need someone to patch me up.
Yeah, he mentioned Harthos, Zymorvan, Lord Harthos mentions to you that when she was not able to keep up, they had created a litter and had put her on that, and they had brought her here. And you realize when they say that those were the drag marks, Ian, that you were following, that they were dragging something. It was the 2 legs of the litter they were probably using to keep their group moving quicker than having to wait or try to force her to move quicker.
That makes sense. Well, it's about 2 days, maybe 3, to Zymorvan Hall. We're currently in the blank mountains.
Yes, you are in the... Let me go back to my map because I probably should have looked at that too. You are in the Frost Hills.
I redact that. We are in the Frost Hills.
Yeah, just north of the Subrin River.
So we're in for quite a journey back. It's like middle of the day, isn't it?
It's getting close to sundown now. You were middle of the day when you fought them. And, with negotiations and all this, it's taken up most of the afternoon. Harshnag kind of looks to you, Finn, as you come out of the cave and says, so what did you find inside?
It's an abandoned mine. Quite a few hobgoblins. So
Hobgoblins, he said. Did you catch any of their symbols? Who were they with?
they were with the Bloodhawk banner.
And you see him kind of think about that, and he says, Bloodhawk banner. He says, I think, must mean one of the legions is now working with the fire giants. Duke Zolto must be looking for allies for something. And you kind of see him furrow his brow as he begins to think of, what this might mean.
He did seem to think we would be fighting eventually.
Yeah, and Harshnag kind of looks to you and says, normally the giants would master their forces and use them to whatever gains or means they were hoping to achieve. But if he's seeking allies in some of the other races, he must have much grander plans than we had thought originally. We know he's trying to rebuild the engines, but what would he need of a hobgoblin legion? And he kind of leaves that hanging as he thinks about it.
Well, we should head back to Zymorvan Hall.
Okay.
They gave up the slaves pretty easy, though.
Dude, have you seen me?
Finn, you're not that intimidating, and just because a kitty cat meowed for a little bit.
I'd have been the giant head that poked his face in the door.
What are your thoughts on it, Harshnag?
He looks to Finn and Greybeard, who were in the cavern. He said, "Did you get a count? How many were there?"
A dozen, plus some wargs, and at least one caster.
Yeah, I never did see the caster.
He said, we don't know what he's planning, but just put the pieces together. We assume that the fire giants were Duke Zalto. We know that Gortok is sworn allegiance. Or he kind of says this as if you knew it. He knows it, but maybe it's not been something he said to you guys. And they had the symbols of Duke Zalto on their armor. Actually, the armor marks of Duke Zalto's forge. He's seeking to rebuild the great engines of destruction to fight the dragons. He says, we know the ordning has been broken, and we've discussed that before. And if he's seeking other allies, it could only mean he plans to move further south, and he doesn't need a Hobgoblin Legion or anybody else to hold or create those engines. He's up to something else.
He'll go straight south through the dwarfs and into the Elven Forest.
And he's thinking about that, and he's like, those engines, if they're not used, normally we use those to fight the dragons in the Lost War, the 1,000-Year War. If they were turned against your kind, your cities and villages and towns, it would be devastating. And then he kind of sinks back into himself some, and you can definitely tell he's trying to think of anything more or a solution, or he's trying to come up with what's going on. It's obvious he's putting a lot of thought into it.
Well, let us take the prisoners back to Zymorva at a minimum, and then decide where we go from there.
Okay. Let's we're gonna do a quick little flashback for just a moment, or not flashback. We're gonna a camera swing over to Jarral. You are in Silvery Moon, and you've been asking around to the whereabouts of your friends, and actually, you are told, after speaking with some of the guards of Silvery Moon, that your friends had escorted a contingent to the west, and they went to Zymorvan Hall, which had been attacked about a week ago. They went with Captain Winrow of the Knights Guard, and he had they went with, you find out, you're told that they went with Captain Winrow, and Glavrin Bitterbow accompanied them west along the road with a force of knights and scouts. So we kind of pick up as you're in Silvery Moon, and I want to just give you a chance if there's anything you need to do while you're here in town, or grab anything real quick, or do you plan to, what do you plan to do now that you have that information?
That's excuse me. That's a good question. What was the name of the person that you said that they'd hooked up with?
You find out that they went out with a group, and it's being led by Captain Winrow, Wynro, and Glavrin Bitterbow. And then they were accompanying a group of knights and scouts to the west, to Zymorvan Hall. It's a place that you would have on your map. I'm going to move everybody back to the map, I think. There we go. So you're up at Silvery Moon. And they were heading west to Zymorvan Hall.
Zymorvan Hall. Where? where? Oh, okay. I got it. It was hidden. I'm lost. All right. So I'm in Silvery Moon, and they were heading west. I don't think I need anything. Hold on. Let me check my inventory because I know that PB had gone on a spending spree with me a while back.
You donated all of your worldly possessions to others in an attempt to help them. That was what it was.
Very monastic.
That's what it was.
Yes, it was all benevolent and part of your religious creed.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I have 145 gold, it appears, in my inventory. So I'm going to try and see if I can get a good deal on some potions of healing before I head out.
Okay. So go ahead and give us just a quick persuasion roll.
Persuasion.
Where is the potion?
No.
Food, drink, and lodging. Seems like I can never find it. Selling. Nope. Coins and currency. I have lists for everything else. Should be equipment. There we go, equipment, and at the bottom, holy symbol. Nope. Wasn't ready for that. Where is my webpage? Let's look it up. Let's find out. Is it in the DMG? Probably.
They're like 75 gold.
All right. So, yeah, 13. So, yeah, you could probably find them. So, if they're normally 75 gold.
But potions of healing, 50.
50. That's what I was thinking, but I wanted to make sure I found
Yeah, they're normally 50.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're probably able. And how many. If you're willing to buy a couple of them, he'll part for them for, probably 45 gold.
Oh, I get a bulk discount. All right. I'm down for the bulk discount. I'll buy 2.
Okay. Yep, you can go ahead and write them down.
All right. And that's 90 gold?
Yes.
All right. So that leaves me with 55. And that's 3 potions of healing I have. Awesome. All right. So how far is Zymorvan Hall from Silvery Moon?
Typical, you're going to spend 2, almost 3 days going along the road. If you were trying to go straight as the crow flies, it's still, it's 50 miles. So you're only moving about 21 a day-ish. Typically, unless you're really pushing yourself and going longer.
Okay. So, do I still have my horse?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have got rid of that. I don't recall us removing any of that
Or would it have
stuff.
been given to Edrim?
No, he doesn't use a horse. I believe he uses his shape shifting abilities.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it still listed on your character sheet?
I don't think I ever had it listed as something
okay. Yeah, we'll say you still have a horse. I mean, I don't see why
Okay.
you couldn't.
Then in that case, I will set out to Zamorvan Hall just before dawn.
Okay. Awesome. So let's go ahead and take our first 5-minute break here. It's a good stopping point to go ahead and get our drinks and use the restrooms real quick. We'll bring everybody back in just a few moments as the two groups begin to converge back towards Zamorvan Hall. So stay tuned for more Storm King's Thunder as we got plenty of story to get through. We'll be right back. All right, bringing our crew back in. Let's head back over to the map and get this started. So, just about the time that we see, well, actually, so you guys are, it's about to be sundown in the mountains here. It's still cold. There's a light dusting of snow on the ground. You probably have maybe an hour's of light that you could travel, and then it would probably be dark. You want to, what does the group wish to do?
Well, they're humans, so they can't see at night.
No, they can't.
And I would rather not be a walking beacon through these infested hills. So I vote we stay. We already have a sorted agreement with these hobgoblins. I say we just chill out here. Or near here.
Harshnag gives you a nod of approval.
So I say head out in the morning. Sound good?
Sounds all right.
Works for me.
All right, let's set up camp.
All right, so you guys set up your normal camp for the evening. It does get cold. The wind picks up, but you go through your normal kind of watch rotation. And it seems to be uneventful. Nothing comes out of the cave area. You don't hear anything in the mountains. Seems to be pretty empty and quiet throughout the night. And then the sun breaks. Or it actually starts to lighten up, even though you don't see the sun through the clouds and the overcast. But you're ready to break camp in the morning and begin to head south.
Sweet. If no one has anything they want to do or say, let's head out.
And this is exactly that point as you guys break camp and you begin to head south in the mountains. This is the same time that we see Jarral on his horse leaving the gates of Silvery Moon, heading west. So you guys travel.
Awesome.
And let's see, let's get people moving here. So it takes you a few hours and you're down to the river. Again, it appears that most of the ground has been froze in the night, so there's a lot of frost. And since it's overcast, at this point, it hasn't really melted very well. The waters look pretty cold, clear, heading south as you get to the banks once again.
All healed up.
Yep,
Oh,
everybody
that's
would
right.
have a long rest.
Good call.
So you're on the banks and you're kind of looking at your human prisoners here, and you're a little concerned, or these released Zymorvan Hall residents, you're a little concerned of their ability to maybe cross this river.
I mean, can we ford it with the horses?
Well, you won't be able to. It's deep enough that you're going to have to. Trying to ride the horses while they're swimming could be dangerous. It's possible. Harshnag thinks he can probably carry a couple of them across, but if he loses his footing, well, it could be pretty disastrous too. But he doesn't think it's over his head or anything, so he definitely thinks he can carry a couple across.
That's probably the best option for the old lady.
Yeah, he definitely picks her up, and one of the older gentlemen that was designated, he was pointed out to you as the cook. Yeah, an older guy was the cook and the old lady.
Well, I guess maybe kind of rope ourselves together a bit, or string a rope across the river to hang on to.
Sure.
Yeah, well, if you ride your horses or animals across, it's just animal handling check. Let me get to the skills list here. Edrim, let me use your character sheet. Oh boy, everything's different. Yeah, it'd be an animal handling. If you're going to swim, you can use athletics check to cross the river.
Have we taken a rest at all?
You guys had a
We did.
long rest, yeah, during the evening. So you should have all your spell slots back, and your half of your hit dice that you had not used yet would have returned.
Are we worried about them not being like swept away from the thing, or is it just super?
Yeah,
super deep?
you're looking at the water, and it looks like it's moving quite quickly.
Well, let's send the strongest person over with a rope, and then we'll just use that. So we can make sure to catch anybody who decides to take a dangerous swim.
Okay, yeah. Harshnag nods to you. You see him tie a rope around his waist. He picks up two of the older humans, and you see him begin to wade into the water as he moves. And he takes his steps very carefully, and you can see it's the water's pushing against his bulk, and it comes up to about his waist.
Oh, so that's just,
I'll just make
Straight
a
up
quick
underwater.
roll. Yeah, with him. I don't
Can he
think-
carry one end of the rope across while he's doing that?
It's tied around his waist right now.
All right.
Let me grab Harshnag a second. Where are you at? Harshnag.
And are you gonna ride not over, Finn?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
So we'll just make sure it's not a terrible roll here. He will just do a... Does he have athletics listed? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's Ian's athletics. It's not mine. Oh, no, it was. It said Ian's JFC.
Oh,
And then it was my roll, and I'm like, why was Ian rolling athletics? Oh, what is she doing? All right. Yeah, he is able to, you do not see him slip. He seems to be sure of foot. You can see quite a bit of the water pushing on his waist, but he is able to make it to the other side. He sets the two humans down gently, and he kind of kneels on the bank and holds the rope in his hands.
Sweet. Who wants to... How many humans are left?
There are
5?
3 humans left because we had 4 men and 1 woman. So 3.
You can tie the other end to Finn, and he'll hold on to one end of the rope while everyone else goes across, using the rope to help.
Okay, sure.
And then I'll ride Nod across with the rope on me, and if I fall, then
So be it.
You'll
You
have
drowned
rope.
with your armor.
that's right.
Well, you'll just fall like a rock. It'll be fine. We'll just have to...
It'll make a great saga someday when they find him in the river.
Pretty sure I can hold my breath for the time it takes a giant to pull me out like a fish.
We'll just have to say goodbye to Nod. He'll pop up again. No worries.
No, it's like the legend of the Lady in the Lake presents this armor from a paladin to the next worthy successor.
That'll be hilarious.
All right, so yeah, those of you that are going to cross, you can go ahead and use an athletics check with advantage because you're using the rope to kind of shimmy yourself across.
Sweet.
I already did when you said it the first time. Got a 28.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So who else?
I
did it?
tried animal handling.
Oh. So you tried to ride your horse across.
I
And,
did.
And Ardreth,
And I
yeah.
rolled so well.
He just the horse stumbles on obviously the river rock is a little treacherous. It a little bit of a wave hits it and you're kind of swept off. You can just go ahead and make an athletics check to swim to shore. Regular no. Oh, okay.
I'm adding drama here. Come on.
Yeah. So you
Yes.
you begin to swim.
We're just crossing a river. It's got to be fun.
You go under. You miss the rope that you tried to reach your hand up and grab. Just as you're kind of sucked under a little bit, you kind of pop up, bob like a cork, probably 100 yards down, and you're slowly making your way over to it would be the southern shore at this point. But you're definitely going to be, you're swept down. You're probably swept a half mile down before you make it to the southern shore. You finally kick yourself onto the shore and drag yourself up. But you're definitely probably about a half mile down the river from the group by the time you do that.
Cool.
And then you're soaked through the bone. Your horse makes it across and is with the group. Did anybody else? Everybody else had a pretty good roll.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ardreth just rolling some big numbers.
Get him out of the way now. Get him out of the way
Yeah,
now.
exactly, PB. Good call.
Oh, Coffee had not done his yet?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll ride.
I want to make
my-
sure to see where people are going.
I'll ride my horse and carry Ardreth with me down the river until I find him.
Yeah, you can just tow his horse behind you. And yeah, you find him about a half mile down.
Except I'm hiding in the bushes because I'm embarrassed now.
There you go. Hide. You see some bushes quivering where he's at, and you kind of ride up on him, and he, as if he was trying to hide, but
Go,
apparently he's not very good at that.
Not even that.
And I just hold out the reins of the horse.
And the horse kind of gives you a lick on your cheek, Ardreth, as if to say, "Well, you probably shouldn't have tried to ride me across the river."
That's what she
I
said.
wish I had to speak with animals.
All right, everybody is now on the south side of the river, has regrouped. A couple of you are cold. It definitely feels like it's going to be a cold for the next few days weather-wise. And you have another half day to travel, so you can get another probably 10 miles before night falls. If you wish to continue.
We have a trustworthy scout.
Yeah, I will. I will scout ahead. Make sure it's all a-okay.
A-okay. How far ahead do you go?
Because there's a load of people, I'm actually a fair bit ahead. I'm probably maybe because they're making a lot of noise. How long would it take? Like, how long would I have to be ahead of them where you wouldn't be able to hear their noisiness?
Yeah, you realize that probably the way the wind's blowing, the way the weather is, if you're more than 50 yards ahead, you're not really hearing them. Something downwind might be able to pick them up scent-wise, and you're not quite sure how far that would travel. You probably think, most creatures when you were hunting in the woods of your homeland, which was the High Forest. Typical creatures that you would make sure you stayed upwind of because you knew they could smell you if you were near. But that wasn't something that was more than 100 yards or maybe a little more than that. It wasn't certainly like miles and miles or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So I stay ahead about, I guess about 200 feet ahead of them, and scout from there.
Okay.
I'm going to be circling the group too, maybe up to a quarter mile away.
Okay. So Ian, you noticing that Edrim, and how are you doing that, Edrim? In what form?
Lion form.
Lion. Okay. And what does your lion look like? Have we ever said what your lion looks like?
We haven't, but I have a picture.
Is he handsome in white?
No.
That's a pity.
Yeah, give us a
Picking the
description.
only one.
So this is tell us what Ian would see as you're circling. You see this lion, which you know is Edrim, but you see this lion who kind of makes the rounds around the group to the edges. And what does she see when she sees that Edrim?
For the most part, he stays below the grass. So you might see a ripple in the grass as he goes by.
And yeah, what's his physical appearance? What's your appearance look like in the lion form? How big are you? Colors, hair, mane, scars, anything?
A fairly typical lion. I did have a picture I posted to Discord, but I can't seem to find it now.
Yeah, it's somewhere out there. It's a ways away.
Are you bigger than Nod? Or are you smaller than Nod?
Well, I'm assuming that because Nod is a mount, he would have to be large size, and most lions are going to be medium, so smaller.
And you're a regular colored lion?
So yellow, blondish.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's not the picture of Boy George.
And I'm assuming you're a male lion with a mane.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are the grasslands very, very green, or are they more yellow, Lucian?
Ooh. I would say they're more yellow.
Okay. It's gonna depend on how annoyed Ian is, what color he is, what color the grass is. So.
Okay.
It was a very important question.
Okay. Yeah, so you definitely can see him kind of tracking along the group. You see him moving, and maybe most of the time, like he said, you're seeing the place he is in the grass. Although every now and then you catch sight of him patrolling and kind of just maneuvering around. So you're kind of keeping in contact with him. You can see Harshnag to even when you're climbing hills and when you're in the dip or coming back up, he's tall enough that you're able to typically see him anytime you're still 200 feet away. And you guys make your way. Clouds are still dark gray, overcast. You haven't seen the sun all day. It's been a pretty cold day of travel. Ardreth, you're definitely feeling pretty miserable being wet and cold. Looking forward to a campfire once you guys set up. And then the sun begins to go down as you guys are out in these grassy plains to stop and make camp. Unless you're going to try to press forward through the night.
No, making camp sounds good to me.
I work with Harshnag to, since we both have giant strength, to make a giant-sized campfire.
Okay.
So that everybody can dry out and stuff and not freeze to death during the evening.
Yeah. Harshnag is able to. He goes out and brings some trees and just like he grabs them and pulls them down, and he sets them up on the wind side of you to try to block some of the wind for your camp. And then you guys are seeing Greybeard hauling in just big cords of wood, and even maybe some of the trees that Harshnag has knocked down. Greybeard's able just to drag those or even pick them up on his shoulder at this point. And it's a pretty impressive sight to see the dwarf, being able to really carry that same kind of weight and strength that you're seeing Harshnag maneuver around. Anybody else? All right. Throughout the day, Jarral, you travel and you're seeing, in the beginning of the day, you see quite a few different wagon loads, and it seems like farmers and merchant heading to Silvery Moon for the day. Looks like they've maybe got up early and then they're traveling to the markets. As you get further out on that first day, you probably make it to, let's go about, probably to the bottom of the S of Silvery Moon is about where you are. And most of the traffic that you have seen has been traveling eastward towards Silvery Moon. So it's obvious that it's merchants and farmers and such taking produce or taking goods into Silvery Moon for sale. You're not seeing too much traffic. You haven't caught up to anybody that seems to be heading west. You seem to be the only traveler heading west at this point.
Do I know that there's a giant with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you were there when Harshnag joined the group, but you left just after that point.
Okay, so if I'm assuming that they still have the giant with them, then as whatever the traffic is passing by, I'm just asking random people if they've seen a group with giant.
Yeah, and they most of them, you probably get mixed reactions from most of them. So a couple of them that you stop are friendly and mentioned that no, they had not seen any giants recently, though they had heard stories, within the past week or the month, or somebody's brothers of somebody's sister had said that this place had been attacked by trolls or giants or things like that. You get a couple of responses of people who it appears like you kind of scare them a little bit. Like when you mention, hey, have you seen a group with a giant? They're just like, what? There's giants here? And you kind of like, they become very alarmed.
Can I rephrase my question?
Not anymore.
The Drow, he's gonna out for the giant.
And then, you have one interaction where...
Can I rephrase my question?
Somebody looks at you and is like, you're a drow. Or you're half drow at this point, I believe is the way we left that. And they don't even want to talk to you. Like they're just like want to move on, and they try to move their wagon away from you without even answering. So you get a lot of mixed reactions when you ask the question.
So
but nobody says they have seen.
The people that look kind of askance at me as I'm approaching them, I'm not going to ask them if they've seen a group with a giant, but I will ask them if they've heard of any strange happenings on the road.
Yeah,
or in and around some Dwarven Hall.
Yeah, you're hearing the same kind of rumor that you picked up in Silvery Moon, and it sounds like they're repeating the rumor that you heard of that. It sounds like Zymorvan Hall was attacked, but nobody's really heard anything recently from them. Nobody's really heading west too much. Everybody seems to be a little scared because if something happened to Zymorvan Hall, does that mean Silvery Moon is next? But nobody really knows, no concrete information. It sounds like everybody's kind of repeating the same rumor that's going around.
Okay. Can't think of anything else to do, so I'm just going to continue riding.
Okay. So you get to about the end of the day. You're right about the S part of Silvery Moon. when you decide to make camp? What are you looking for when you're going to make your camp for the evening?
I am going to. I'm not. It's pretty open there, right?
Yeah, what it basically, the road is probably a 2-lane at this point of cart tracks. You can see grassy hills to your north, every now and then a copse of trees, but nothing that would be called a forest. You know that there's a river to your south, but it's probably a mile or two away. You can probably hear it. You might even get a smell of it, but you don't quite see it from where you're at.
All right, so I'm gonna go just a little bit north to one of those copses and just kind of tie the horse up to one of the trees. Feed the horse, let it rest. I'm not gonna set a campfire.
Okay.
I'm assuming that it's what time of year is it?
We are now entering fall, heading towards winter.
Yeah, I'm not gonna set a campfire. I'm just gonna.
It is
sleep in the
cold, but
dark.
it's not nothing that one day of it's not going to. 3 or 4 days from now, I might start making you make some checks if you haven't got a little bit warm in that time. But just one day, there shouldn't be anything to that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna try and make myself inconspicuous so I'm not a target for anything.
Yeah. And then throughout the night, you don't really hear anything. Nothing seems to approach the camp. It doesn't seem like anybody travels the road that evening, and you can do your trance as you're resting, and then you can go ahead and you be back up. So it's an uneventful evening while you're on the road to Zymorvan Hall.
Okay.
All right. So the 6, who once Jarral gets there, you guys are gonna have to change your name to the 7.
8.
You are waking up, having a nice warm fire that's mostly kept you from the cold chill, making that too much of a miserable night. Some of the wet clothes, wet packs, and any of your gear that got wet is dried by now that you kept near the fire. It was an uneventful evening. Probably let's go to your handout for I gotta get rid of this. That's why I don't see it. So we can see your watch order a second. So Ian, during your watch, you pick up a pack of wolves seems to be in the area, but they clearly clear out pretty quickly. You think that they probably smelled the fire, then moved on. It wasn't anything that you would feel from your survivalist skills to worry about, but you knew that they kind of passed through the area and probably are continuing hunting on further on. And then Edrim, you also probably pick up their scent and trail, as if they probably didn't come very close to the camp area. They probably came maybe 500 yards, but then skirted around, and then they continued following what seemed like a track down the river, probably hunting or prowling in the plains looking for food. And it was a pack of wolves. But nothing that comes to camp.
They were heading southwest along the river?
Yeah. From what you can tell, they came from the northeast and were heading southwest.
Okay.
All right, so the group breaks camp. In the morning, you guys are able to break camp and continue on, I assume, just as normal. Yep. So, Ian, you're thinking that at your regular pace, you're probably going to have to camp one more night before you hit Zymorvan Hall, because you're probably a day and a half away, judging from the last time you went through. You think you're about a day and a half.
Okay. That sounds fine.
And I don't know if you tell the group that or keep it to yourself or what.
Sure, I tell them. It looks like at this pace we'll get to Simorvan Hall or what's left of it in about a day and a half.
Well, let's get going then.
All right. So you guys continue on, and so you're going to make it to here, 21. So probably right below the Y. So right about there. You're still probably 10 to 12 miles out from the hall, about a half day's journey at this point as the sun begins to set.
Cool.
Camp out.
Yep.
Okay. Jarral said he'd be back in a minute. So as you guys are setting up camp, the fire is created. Things are dragged in. Harshnag kind of sits down with the group. And he says to Ian and Finn, he kind of looks to Ian, I guess, and he says, I'm more worried now thinking about this Hobgoblin Legion and Duke's Alto. It can't be a coincidence that this all happened during the breaking of the Ordning. And it must be that the fire giants are coming up with a bolder plan than even I had anticipated. I think we need to get more information about what's happening. And he says, let me bring up my window that just closed on me. Do I still have it? Nope, wrong one.
Are you about to make me write down some quest information? If so, I need to know to bring out that notebook.
Maybe. It wouldn't hurt to have it ready in a moment.
That was definitely a yes.
Which one is it?
He
Is it you?
he mentions to you, and he makes sure that Finn can overhear too, because he's mostly been talking with Ian and Finn throughout most of the travels. He says, I know of a place in the spine of the world where I think we can get some more information. I believe if we went to the Eye of the Allfather, which is an ancient legend and story from the giants' past of an oracle that could answer questions. I believe if we were to go there, we might be able to discern exactly how the breaking of the Ordning and what is going on with Duke Zolto's plans. And I'd be willing to show you where this sacred place for the giants resides. And he says it's in the spine of the world. For you guys, the spine of the world is, you know of it, although very few of you have probably been to it. It's definitely further to the north. And the spine of the world is all along the northern boundary. It's huge ice mountains to your north. And it goes for many miles. And then he says, yeah, basically copy. He also says, if we're going to take on Duke Zolto, and he kind of looks at you, Ian, and looks at you, Finn, and when he says it almost as a question. Are you committed to taking on Duke Zolto?
Well, I am.
Yeah, and I say absolutely. He's a bane on this planet, on this world.
Take on by kill, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gives you a nod, Coffee, as you, and he's not trying to be quiet as if nobody else can hear him. It's just that he seems to be talking so far to Ian and Finn, who have, in his eyes, have been the leaders of the group thus far. But he's certainly not trying to whisper it to them or anything. And he says, well, I've been impressed with some of the things you've been able to accomplish just in the short time even I have been with you. Fighting these giants of Duke Zolto's army, very few can say they can do. And I've seen some of the abilities you have that would make me pause were we to be enemies of some sort. And he kind of gives a hearty giant chuckle and says,
Lol.
which is why I'm glad we're allies. He says, I think I can help us with part of that also. To take on Duke Zolto, we're definitely going to have to eventually go to Ironslag. He's not going to come out and meet us and be as easy as Gortok, or as stupid at this point as Gortok, to just challenge us in the field. The only time we will see Duke Zolto out of Ironslag is when he's on the march. And by then he'll have his army and who knows what other allies with him. And he may be unstoppable by then. So we will have to go to Ironslag if we're to defeat him before he can gather his armies and build the engines.
Yes.
The Voanod.
That is the reason I have been brought back and allowed to become a Paladin of Corellian. So I will do that.
It's kind of his thing. It's his entire shtick, so to say.
His raison d'etre. That's why he's there.
It's like a Geico commercial.
Yeah. So he furrows his
That's
brow
right.
a little bit, and he says, "Well, I fear I don't know how much time we have, and we have quite a ways to travel. If we try to go to the spine, we talk to the Eye of the Allfather. That could send us anywhere, or give us information that could send us to the next thing that we need to either do, or the next place where we can find the information we require. There will be certainly a lot of travel to do that, but that's a lot of time that we're not preparing to take the fight to Duke Zolto. I do know of something that may help us, but I don't know if we'll have time to get it." And he mentions that in his time with Force Grey, there was a legend of a weapon known as Fireweaver. He come across some dwarves who know of where it is, the existence of it, and where it lies. I think if we were to, the legend says that the bearer of the weapon, Fireweaver, gives protection to that who carries it and to their allies, protection from the damaging fires and extreme heat. If we're to go into Ironslag, we're going to need things, devices, weapons, or potions of sort. As to find Duke Zolto, he'll be in his forge, which will definitely have rivers of magma and lava which power the forges, and could be dangerous to any mortal who doesn't have some type of protection.
Well, it sounds like
That
it's
didn't
something
sound
we will
good.
require.
I don't like fire.
So he says, from what I know, this weapon that we could acquire would be in the Star Metal Mountains. And those are going to be... I'm going to uncover it on the map for you guys here a second. Once I find dynamic lighting, yes. And no, that's not what I want. Where is it?
I don't know, Jarl. The one time we actually tried diplomacy and it worked was when Jarl wasn't around, so I don't know about your healing potions.
Map. GM dynamic lighting.
I had one spell going into that cave. Figured talking it out was worth a shot.
Yeah, I was down
I-
pretty far too.
Yeah,
I had
good
no
choice.
spells and no hit points.
Dang, you guys should have warned me. I was about ready to fireball that place.
I was worried when you said I'm going to cast, and I was thinking in my head, uh-oh. And then you said sleep, and I thought, oh, okay, that I can handle.
Yeah, like unfortunately, I didn't have any third level. My lightning bolt was down.
Yeah. Yeah, the big stuff going to come out. We're going to be in trouble. So Star Meadow Hills is in between Tribor and Long Saddle. It's to the west of that. You guys passed it. It was to the north of you when you came up Tribor Trail. If you were in Tribor, you would just basically head northwest and you would see the Star Meadow Hills.
Oh, I see him on the map.
Yeah. So, and he mentions that that's where the weapon is, and so he's saying to you, I think, objects and token layer. There we go, and that. We should not waste time in acquiring that item or even more items like it, and be ready for once we have the information from the Allfather on what we should do next about the Ordning and stopping Duke Zolto. I don't see how we can do this if we're not splitting the party. He says slowly to you.
I really appreciate you trying to figure out different words rather than saying split the party.
When I was in adventuring school, they said never
They
split the
said
party.
never split the party. I can't believe
It
we're
worked well
discussing
for us
this.
early on too.
Yeah, he
Step
kind of
one,
laughs.
Never leave home without torches. Step 2, don't split the party. Come on.
The only slightly less well-known rule is don't start a land war in Asia.
So he kind of mentions it and says, you know, we're still bringing the residents of Zymorvan Hall home. But I think we should think on this and decide, or at least you should discuss amongst yourselves how we should proceed. As I think this is our only route.
Well, tomorrow is a new day. We should. Everyone heard that, right? Everyone was listening in. No one was being a loner. All right.
Maybe Edrim.
I didn't say anything, but I was listening.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, maybe Edrim's a mile away doing circles on the group.
So it sounds like we should get these people to Zymorvan Hall and get
Have a
around a
talk.
get around a round table and discuss our plan.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys are making camp, and that's happening while you're making camp. Jarral, you travel throughout the day. That's halfway. Right about there. So you're right about the A and the L of Zymorvan Hall on the road where the woods are starting to encroach. The Moonwood is starting to encroach towards the road. You can actually start to see it. You think you're probably only 8 or 9 miles out. It would still take you another half a day of regular travel, but you're not too far away from where you think Zymorvan Hall is. And during the day, just before, we'll say about midday, you see a rider on the road who's galloping down the road, heading east towards Silvery Moon.
What kind of a gallop is it?
Pretty fast. He looks like the person that you can see is kind of low slung over the horse. Definitely still on the road, not trying to hide in any way. Definitely looks like they're trying to move quickly, but you don't see any weapons out or anything like that.
Can
Just
I
seems
tell
like it's
if
a
they're
fast
armored
rider.
or if they're like a messenger? Or
Yeah, they're
anything?
definitely armored. He appears to be wearing... Well, go ahead and give me a perception check pretty far out. Let's see if you get
All right.
an indication here. Yeah, perception's good. Yeah, you recognize right away. It looks very similar to the same type of clothing and cloaks and colors of the Silvery Moon Guard that you would have seen back in Silvery Moon.
All right. So how far away is he from me? Like, is he within shouting distance?
Probably about 200 yards out, heading down the road. You don't think he's seen you yet, but it's like within a few more gallop strides that he's probably going to spot you. You've spotted him first.
All right. So am I in a...
You're on the road currently.
I'm a drow.
Yeah, you are.
On the road. And I'm near... Okay, so... How far away am I from the trees? Like, am I...
This is midday, so you are probably... Let me put a mark on the map for you.
Like, if I try and run over... head over to the trees, am I going to make it before he sees me?
You're probably where that little blue dot is. You're at the end of the day is where you're going to be at the tree part. During this encounter, you're down more the middle here where the little blue dot is.
The blue dot is... I don't see a blue dot.
Let me try again. Freehand. Right there. So blue dot on the right.
I see that. Okay, so
that's where you are when this happens. At the end of the day, you'll be here.
Okay. So my cowl is down, and I see him approaching. I'm gonna steer the horse off to the side of the road to give a plenty of berth, and
yeah, as you make that turn and your horse kind of goes to are you going to the north side or the south side of the road?
Probably the north side.
All right, so it kind of makes a right-hand turn. It silhouettes a little bit, and you recognize the look of him noticing you. He crouches down deeper into the horse. He's keeping his speed up, but you can tell he's definitely wary, and his hand is on his sword as he's riding down the road. But he doesn't seem to see anything else, and then your horse walks off the side, and you give him plenty of room.
Okay. So I'm going to notice that he's not being aggressive, just defensive, and I'm gonna raise my hand and shout as loud as I can, in as concerned a voice as I can muster. What news of Zemorven?
Yeah, so he's riding pretty hard. He begins to look left and right. He kind of checks over his shoulder. He is going to make a insight check to see what he's going to do, I think. So let me just do a quick D20 roll to see how he reacts. / roll 1D20. Yeah, he appears to be super cautious. He keeps most of his speed. He's probably down to about 3/4 speed. He moves to the very edge of the road on the south to give you as much of a berth as he can, but it looks like he's going to ride past you. He is being wary, and he's looking around as if he thinks there might be an ambush or that you're trying to distract him for some reason. And then begins to ride past you.
Okay, I'll just kind of shrug with my hands in the air, like, what the hell? And I'll just let him continue by.
Okay. Yeah, and
I'll wait until he gets out of sight, though.
Okay.
Before I continue on.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you can definitely, you see the mark of the city guard as he goes by on his cloak, and so you can kind of confirm he's definitely a Silvery Moon guard. He did appear to have a satchel on. So, I mean, it's something you would typically see, so you really think he's probably a messenger who's, heading back towards Silvery Moon from what you can tell.
Okay. So I'm going to assume I have the sense that that's like he's on an urgent...
Yeah, that would be a pretty normal thing for riders of, militia or military or soldiery forces to be sending stuff by horse over land. And it would be probably pretty common that they may or may not stop, especially if he's a lone rider. They'll probably be more cautious than if it was, 2 or 3 of them. They probably would have stopped and talked to you, but him being a lone rider and the way he's just being super cautious. And
would they be riding the horse that hard?
If it's a group of them, probably not as much. A single rider will typically ride their horses pretty hard and then exchange horses at certain points.
Okay. Did I notice any other groups?
If it's important enough, they'll ride their horse really hard, but we'll see how it goes.
Did I notice any groups where they would exchange a horse along the road?
No, you did not see any right here on the road.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna continue on, maybe a little more urgently than I was, but
okay.
We'll continue
so
on.
Yeah. If you pick up your pace, I'll put you freehand. I mean, you probably get to hear as the sun begins to go down.
Really? Is my horse that slow?
Yeah. Well, unless you're gonna, gallop a horse, then it's just moving at a walking pace, and it's not typically much quicker than a human walk. It's just that you're not going to be tired if something happens at the end of the day like you would if you'd walked 21 miles.
Okay. All right. That's probably about as good. How far is that from the town? Like about 5 miles?
Yeah, half a day. Maybe just a little less than half a day.
Okay.
You usually get about 21 miles in a given day unless you push it for some reason. Standard.
Did I encounter anybody else on the road?
Nope, not this far out. It was only the rider at this point. You're not even seeing farmers at this point. You don't see any farms on your way to Zymorvenhall. Most of those were closer to Silvery Moon.
Okay.
And you've not seen any merchants on this day. It seemed on the first day they were a little more common. You didn't see anything on the second day.
Okay. All right, then in that case, I'm going to kind of get into the trees. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to scout in this area here in the tree line, just to make sure that there's nothing waiting in ambush. And once I've confirmed the area is clear, I'm going to set up camp there. I'll probably set a small fire just after dusk.
Okay.
But put it out after a couple hours, and then basically I'm going to try and set out like a couple hours before dawn so that I arrive in the town just after everybody's kind of getting up.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do a perception check. This is just after dusk. You're setting your fire up. You've scouted the woods a little bit, and you're kind of in them at the moment. And you kind of feel like you're being watched. And so what's your immediate reaction? I'm going to give you some more information in a second here, but what's your immediate action that like you're setting the fire up, you've got it going a little bit, and you kind of feel like, you know, the eyes on your back, like you know somebody's watching you.
Do I get a sense of which direction they're watching from?
It definitely seems like they're behind you.
Like toward the road or in the trees?
It just depends on how you were setting your fire up. It didn't.
Oh, okay. So it would be just probably on the tree line is where the fire would be.
Yeah. So it's definitely in the trees.
Okay. Then,
I guess what I'm looking for is your reaction. Are you going to actively look? Are you going to try to pretend that you don't know? What type of thing are you trying to do here?
I'm gonna kind of tie the horse down, and I'm going to walk around. And is there still light out or no?
No, this is just after dusk.
Just after dusk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it's been overcast anyway, so the night comes fairly quickly, or at least the darkness of it.
Okay, so the fire is still lit then, and I'm going to just kind of roam around the area and just make like I'm examining bushes and things, look for stuff to eat.
Okay.
But
okay,
I'm
yeah,
also
so you're
going to be
doing
keeping
that.
an eye around.
Yeah, and you pick out deeper in the woods, probably 50 to 60 yards out. You definitely see an elf who is hidden and just misses you catch him out of the corner of your eye, and you can tell they've just kind of ducked back behind a tree. And normally nobody would have seen him, but I mean, you were looking for it. Your dark vision is probably about the best as someone can get, and you notice that the person was looking around a trunk, watched you, and then kind of leaned back behind the trunk, and you caught that motion, just that subtle motion. And what you caught was, it's definitely an elf. You definitely caught the pointed ears, definitely a woods type, wood type garb, greens that try to blend into the trees in the background. And is now you don't see them. They're behind a trunk of some sort, to about 50, 60 yards north of you.
All right, then I'm going to stealth and try and make my way in a roundabout way in that general direction. Not directly, but...
Okay, you can go ahead and roll 2 stealth. All right. Let's roll... let's see here. What would they roll? Where's that at? So their perception is going to be... okay. So... just rolling for them. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you feel like you kind of slip into shadows. You go very quiet. You make sure you're not stepping on twigs. You begin to maneuver in a roundabout way towards the back of that tree. And when you kind of come around to where you think you would see who would be standing behind that tree, you do not see anybody there. And then a little bit deeper in the woods, about a little further north, you see, again, a bush that just like a slight moving of a twig, a slight brushing of it, that you know for sure somebody's just brushed past there. And even though you didn't see them, you know somebody's brushed past it. It's about another probably 20 yards north. It looks like they must have moved when you started circling, and they moved deeper north into the woods.
Am I able to tell which direction they were going?
This is, again, more north than your campfire. So this tree that was about 50, we'll say
Oh, okay,
50
so
yards
they're-
north, and now it's another 20 yards north where you see the moving branch.
Okay. Um,
You can tell that they must have seen you, because if you would have been able to come up on them, they must have seen you maneuvering. So you think they were able to see you.
yeah, I'm gonna stealth back to the campfire.
Okay.
And untether the horse, and I'm not gonna put the fire out, but I am gonna leave and start heading up the road again.
Oh, okay. How far are you going to go?
I'm gonna go. The horse shouldn't be tired, so I'm gonna go until I hit the town.
Okay. Yeah, so it's probably about 11 at night when you kind of see the shadow and what remains of the tower kind of pop up out of the gloom. And we'll go ahead and set you there for a moment.
All right, and I'm also gonna be very hyper aware of everything around me.
Yeah. All right, so let's take our second and last break of the evening. We'll take a quick 5-minute. We'll come back and we will finish up with Jarral approaching Zymorvan Hall at about 11 at night. And our group is just to the north, setting up camp before they head south further to Zymorvan Hall. So everybody's kind of converging, which is perfect. And we will be back and we will finish this out and see how it works. So stay tuned, and we will be back in just a few moments. Well, all right, we are back. Let's finish up for our evening. So let's pick back up because it looks like Jarral is going to reach Zymorvan Hall first. He's going to reach. So at about 11 a.m., you see Zymorvan Hall. And basically what you can see is it is a tower placed up on a ridge that overlooks. Let me read it to you here. Let me give you so perched atop a crag overlooking the Ralvin Road with a clear view of the Evermoors to the south and the Moonwood to the north is a keep of mortared stone with high-pitched roof that's been burned down and wooden statues, which have been burned, of baying wolves rising from its peaks. A branch in the road winds to the keep's gatehouse and bailey from the keep that watch over the surrounding lands from what you can see. So it is definitely kind of in an elevated perch above the road just to the north of it. You could see that right outside the gate on the walls are 2 torch bracket holders, and there are 2 torches lit so that the whole front of the gatehouse and bailey is lit up. You see 2 guards at the front, standing guard, and you think you can pick up movement on top of some of the walls, though it is pretty dark and it is quite a ways away yet. So you're having a hard time seeing what's up there where it's not lit. But it is, you can tell it's occupied. There are torches on the outside wall near the gate, and it appears there's probably some light coming from inside the gate somewhere or inside the bailey of the keep. You were far enough away that they definitely have not seen you. What would Jarral like to do?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the other guys.
Nope, you're getting there at 11 at night.
So there are some fires that are, I guess, where people have been, camping either inside the hall or inside the tower or
no. There's
outside.
a wall. There's a wall around the keep. There's a gatehouse and a bailey at the front, and there are 2 wall torches on the wall of the gatehouse where 2 guards are standing as if guarding the entrance to the keep.
Okay, and stupid question, but how far does that wall stretch?
It's a pretty good question. It's probably a couple 100 feet long. It definitely goes around the entire keep from what you can tell. From the vantage point that you're at, it's obviously a defensive wall. It's about 20 feet tall, crenellated. Definitely looks wide enough that people could walk along the top. And you have to cross the gatehouse's gate that is down because there's like a ditch that's dug around the wall. It's not filled in with anything, but it's definitely dug down, and you would cross the bridge to get into the gatehouse.
Okay.
And it is
So it's
currently
just a
lowered
ditch.
with guards. Yeah.
There's nothing in the ditch. It's just
not from what you can see. You don't see anything.
The tower that's I think you said it was half destroyed or something, or it's damaged.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's received some damage, but it is at night, and you're not picking up a ton of detail.
Okay.
This far out. I mean, if you got closer, possibly.
Can I tell if it's at the front of the keep or the back or in the middle?
If what?
The tower, like, is it?
That is the whole. The keep is the tower. It's like a.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm gonna skirt south and get close to the river, and find a copse of trees by the river, and I think I'm just gonna go into a trance there.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll stealth with advantage as you maneuver here. And I just want to make sure that we have a... I don't think they're going to see you, but in case you really mess up. No. All right. Yeah. So you're able to quietly make your way to the south at an advantage point where you can kind of keep an eye on it. But you still know that you're probably hidden, and unless, they would come out and start looking, you probably won't be seen. Nobody's just going to accidentally see you type thing. All right. And then you spend you take your chance there where, as you've been traveling for most of the day, your horse is tied up and hobbled. And the rest of the evening goes. You recognize or you hear the changing of the guard. You hear low voices speak with each other, maybe a short laugh. It's obvious that some guards are changing. But other than that, you don't hear anything or see anything else throughout the night.
Okay. And I'm going to wait to do anything until the sun is fully in the sky.
Okay. So sun rises, and we will move back over to our crew. You guys are probably just a half day's travel to Zymorvan Hall. Lord Harthos is anxious to get back. He's definitely got a worried look on his face as he begins to recall the night of the attack. And he's anxious to get him and his household back to Zymorvan Hall as you guys break camp. Do anybody need to do anything, or just head on out?
I have one question before you go there. The giant, how tall is the giant in relation to the hall wall?
You're not exactly sure. You remember the giant being probably about 3 stories high. Is in your brain is the way you're thinking of it.
Like, would I be able to see it over a wall, like from my vantage point?
Probably. Yeah, you probably would see his head.
Okay. So, okay.
All right. Anything from the group? You guys are quiet.
Oh, ready to go.
Yeah.
All right. You travel half a day, and Zymorvan Hall comes into view. And you can see that you do see the flag of Silvery Moon is raised at the moment. You can still see a couple of guards that seem to be walking the walls on the top of the walls that surround the keep, and you're kind of approaching from the back side of it, which is you're kind of up on the ridge where this thing is set. The road is lower down in elevation wise below it. And so you guys come around and make your way up to the keep. And Lord Harthos kind of looks to you and then looks to what he sees as guards out in front of Zymorvan Hall. And the guards kind of give a shout. The wall guards, when they see you, they spot you guys coming from the plains. Give a shout, and waiting at the gate area is... I already forgot their name. Captain Winrow and Glavrin Bitterbow are there waiting for you.
Hail, the Lord of Zyvrin Hall returns.
Yeah, and you see Captain Winrow salutes to Harthos, and Glavrin actually walks up, holds his hand out, and shakes Lord Harthos' hand. It appears like they are acquaintances and know each other. The soldiers usher in the humans and begin to bring out clothes and food and such as they kind of escort you guys into the keep. At least across the gatehouse, across the gate bridge, and then into the courtyard right in front of the keep. When he gets there, Lord Harthos is kind of looking around at the demolished interior of the keep. The keep has been razed for the most part. everything that was wood on the inside has been burned, and is kind of like a smoldering, wet, not smoldering, but a wet, burned wood debris kind of thing. The stone itself stands firm, and you see he's kind of distraught a little bit about this, and you kind of hear him mumble, "If only I had," he says to kind of just nobody that's around, "only if I had more animated armor and flying swords, maybe I could have protected this place better." And then you see him look at a rug that's been tore up and cut to the side, and he kind of walks over to it.
Nice.
And he shakes his head. He almost has a small tear as he's looking at the rug, and he picks pieces of it up. And then he kind of steels himself, straightens himself up, and kind of gives the keep a once over, and says, and you kind of see a change in him a little bit. And he's like, "Well, nothing that can't be rebuilt." He's like, kind of does that, "I'm not crying, you're crying" kind of look. It's like, where's all the water coming from? It's so wet out here and humid. We should be, And then he looks to Glavrin and asks Glavrin if he's going to be able to get some help from Silvery Moon to rebuild. And Glavrin gives him a big clap on the back and a laugh, and he says, "We're just glad you're alive, Harthos. Of course you're going to get help from us. We can help rebuild. It's amazing that you've survived." And then that's when they all turn to you guys, who are kind of standing in the background at this point. Now, Harshnag is standing outside. He doesn't try to crouch into the gatehouse or doesn't try to move into the... It just would be way too crowded. And you guys see all of the... there's a bunch of tents that have been set up, and they're kind of crammed inside the wall here of the troops. What you don't see currently is the mounted contingent. When you guys had left Silvery Moon, you left with a group of 50 knights and 50 foot soldiers. What you're not seeing at the moment are the mounted knights. You just see the foot soldiers that seem to be manning the inside of the wall of Zymorvan Hall.
Did Jarral see, or would Jarral have seen them, or been able to recognize them from where he's at?
You would have recognized the group, for sure. Yeah, you would have seen the group.
Okay, then Jarral will start at a gallop with the horse toward the gate.
All right, there's a call from the gate as the guards yell, "Rider ho!" And you begin to gallop towards the gate.
And he'll raise up a hand, "Hail, hail!"
And they look a little. Well, let's see. We'll give it a roll.
"It is I, Jarral."
Yeah, let us see what the gods.
Drow elf casting.
Sure, we'll give it that roll.
Light them up, boys.
14. So they seem wary, but they're also thinking with Harshnag standing right outside. And you see Harshnag kind of turn towards you riding up, and he doesn't seem to be moving. He's squinting his eyes, looking to try to... He has that look of, I think I know that person, but I barely kind of know them. But definitely not aggressive or worried in any way. And the guards are kind of taking his reaction as like, well, if he's not worried, we're not worried. Nobody's just going to run up to a giant. And so they have their hands on their weapons, but they're not drawn. And they call into the courtyard, "Rider approaches." And so you guys hear that in the courtyard.
Doesn't have anything to do with me. I reach in my bag of holding and I pull out the sword that I dug out of the rubble.
Yeah.
And I'll sort of half bow, kind of bend a knee and palms up, hand the sword to the Lord. And
yeah,
say,
he kind of turns to you and he does a whistle, and the sword rises up out of your hand, dances around him, and then just floats as if commanded by his whistle, and he has kind of a happy look on his face, and he's like, "Oh, you were able to save one of my swords. Thank you so much."
You're welcome, my lord.
And then he looks at you. He's like, "Wait a minute. Was that in your bag?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Why did you wait till now to show me this?"
Forgot about it till I saw that rug.
And is that the truth, or are you lying?
Yeah.
That's actually, that's the actual truth. That's funny.
Once I saw the rug, I was like, don't I have a sword too? Once you said the tatters of the rug.
Yeah. Yeah, so he whistles, and it seems to dance around him, and then it hovers near him, and almost moves like it's a pet for him, almost. And then out of game-wise, you guys can think of Yondo.
Oh,
Scene
nice.
from Guardians of the Galaxy. the whistle command of the weapon. So, yeah, so the sword dances around. Now it's clear that it's obviously an enchanted flying sword, which you have seen or heard of before in other places. Usually wizards and mages use them as protectors of their homes and those people that have a lot of interaction with magic. All right, so you ride up, Jarral. Apparently nobody comes out of the keep.
Why would we?
and as
house.
he gets closer, he's like insistent. It is I, Jarral.
Yeah, and so you hear this guard kind of mention it. I think he's saying his name is Daryl. There, and then he's like, "There's an elf approaching. I think it's a drow." You hear one guard say to the other one, for those of you that are in the courtyard. Daryl, the drow elf, is approaching.
Let's start to look at my companions. Could it be?
It's Jarral, right? We can see him.
Only one drow I know would attack a city like this.
No, he'd try and parlay first.
No, he's
That's
speaking.
what
It
I
must
was
be
waiting for
Jarral.
somebody to say. Is he yelling parlay? Would be my
Yep.
question. You guys are just, what's going on? There's no action here. Get into your roles.
We are. That's why I didn't say anything. It's not my business. It's not my house. It's up to the Lord to go answer the door. Be like, who's this? No.
Right. Just like, hi, it's Jarral. It's Jarral. You remember me, right, Jarral?
And everybody's like, huh? Who are you?
I'm going to walk over and go,
Yeah.
Jarral, who? Who
Blank
are you?
stares from everybody.
You remember who this?
So yeah, I think Harshnag then kind of let's see if he remembers you. He might give you knew him. You didn't know him, but like you met him once and then you were gone. So let's do a roll for him. See if he remembers you. Let's just do a straight roll. No bonuses there. Oh yeah. He seems to remember you. And then he kind of leans into the gatehouse area where he can say, "Your companion approaches."
Our companion. I count how many of there are there. How many of us are there? I'm like, okay, there's Finn, there's Coffee, Greybeard. I'm like, well, that's 6 of us, 7. Looking at you, nod. And I'm like,
Thank you.
Jarrell's gonna stop about 50 to 100 yards outside the gate, and just sit there looking disappointed.
like, is that? I guess is that Jarral?
Yeah. If you go out and look, you see the hood raised up on a very familiar figure of the lost monk has returned to the group. Edrim.
Hey, it's Jarral.
Edrim has probably not met Jarral, did he?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Edrim would be one person you have not met yet. So Jarral, you see coming out of the keep there, you see the party kind of begin to waddle out, and you see Finn and Ian and Coffee and Ardreth. You still see, and then a new person that you don't know. Several humans accompany them out. Some of them are dressed in the same clothing as the guard from Silvery Moon. Some of them are dressed in more of like rustic ranger type clothing. And then some appear to be in some tattered clothing at the moment as they come out to the front. And Harshnag kind of moves to the side to get his bulk out of the way.
Hail, friend. Well met. And I put my dwarfy hand up as high as I can to shake yours, because you're still on your horse, right?
Oh, you've already approached? I would have gotten off if I saw you guys coming toward it.
Oh, well. Then.
But yeah,
All right.
I'll clasp your hand and well met, Greybeard. What news? And he kind of looks and sees the
Now looking inside, you can tell that Zymorvan Hall must have been attacked and razed. Everything that was wood has been put to the fire. The stones still stand and may have some scorch marks on them, but stand strong and true. But anything wooden was definitely destroyed in the fires. You can tell that there's probably several tents and a camp and probably quite a few humans on the inside, even though you can't see most of them, but you can hear some commotion and you can hear lots of noises on the inside of the keep area.
Okay. So he's going to look at that and he's going to have a concerned look on his face, but then he's going to address Greybeard and the rest of the group and ask, was this before or after you arrived?
This happened beforehand.
This was Greybeard's attempt to get a new tavern.
Yeah, we should let Ardreth tell the tale. He's the bard. And I turned towards Ardreth, like, okay, Mr. Snippy McJoke, now you get to talk.
So I explained to Jarral that there was only one tavern in town, and that no. So I will explain that we came upon the town in this state, and our quest was, trying to remember back to where we're at, was off to try to find the reason, and the people had burned it down, and that's when we started chasing yet another set of giants. So many adventures that you have missed, many giants killed, but it's good to see you back and the party reunited.
He'll nod. Thank you, Ardreth. It seems that everywhere we go, either we're causing a town destruction or we're arriving just as it's being destroyed.
The good news is, though, this time we actually killed the two giants right away.
Ah, very good.
And
I wouldn't say we caused the destruction. I would say we stopped the destruction from being worse in most of those towns.
We were destruction adjacent.
I trust that everyone is safe and in good health.
Greybeard looks at all his limbs. Yep.
Got a couple of rock-sized dents in our armor, but other than that,
Indeed.
So what is on today's agenda?
Well, you're back. It's a joyous occasion. Let's drink.
Yeah, so they kind of escort all of you inside, and they have set up on the inside of the walls that surround this tower-like keep. And really, it's kind of like a big manor that has, a decent wall around it, and it's a decent-sized courtyard where there are many army-like tents that have been set up. They bring you over to a big tent that's been set up that's more like the meeting tent, and they've been using it as the organization and strategy tent. And Captain Winrow, she kind of motions in, and they bring in food and beverages, and it's warm when you get inside. There's plenty of place to sit and relax. You see a table with a map spread out on it, and she kind of says to you, we're indebted that you were able to bring back Lord Zymorvan. We'll let you take your ease while we continue taking care of Lord Zymorvan and his household, and we'll get them set up and begin the plans for rebuilding Zymorvan Hall. I'll have a rider leave within the next few minutes to take a message to Silvery Moon that Lord Zymorvan has returned, that you were victorious, and that you were able to fell the fire giants who attacked. Is there any more information you want me to send to Silvery Moon? She says.
How about those goblins?
Well, we could tell her the Blood Ravens have joined forces with the Fire Giants.
Okay, so you say okay.
Or, I'm sorry, the Blood Hawks.
The Bloodhawk banner, yep. Okay.
Which is
else?
presumably part of a bigger legion then, right?
That would be true. And
what legion would that
Harsnag
be?
would have mentioned he knew of that group, and that would be he would have told you this once I get to my reason. It is the Faith Fang Legion.
Does Jarral recognize anybody else here that has the same symbol that the rider had on his uniform?
All of the people.
They all do.
All of them do, yeah.
Okay.
All of the humans in here that are not a part of the group, except for 5, maybe 6 humans, but the majority of the humans that are in here have the same color cloaks and uniforms and have the symbol of the rider, which is the symbol of Silvery Moon.
Okay. At an appropriate time, Jarral will just mention that he crossed one of the messengers on the road.
It mentioned to who?
To whoever's sitting around, if there's a
your
discussion
group,
going on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not the... Okay, so the captain leaves, allows you to take your ease as she continues to take care of Lord Zymorvan. Glavrin shows up and takes a seat, and he says, my good friend is being taken care of. And he kind of bows to you. I'm at your disposal, and he just kind of takes a seat in the room as the tent has been given to you guys to meet or greet, whatever you're going to do.
Well, I'm drinking.
I'm drinking. Drinking
As-
sounds good.
As people start drinking and such, I say, well, I'm happy to see you, Jarral, and we should celebrate your return from your errand. You have come at us at a sort of crossroads. We have just fought these fire giants and found that Duke Zalto, as I'm sure you remember, is setting up for a battle that I don't think anyone foresaw. He is gathering troops of all shapes and sizes to attack something somewhere, and we're not aware. And we have been given information by the person that we have 2 paths to walk right now, and they're both urgent. So you have come at us at a time where we must decide which path we're going to walk.
And what is Edrim's outward look as everybody seems to be talking to this drow elf that you've never met?
He really does not react. He's not much of a social person, and he doesn't really have a grasp of common societal norms, I guess, as far as dealing with other people.
Okay.
So unless somebody forces an interaction upon him, he will sit in the background.
Okay, yeah. And Jarral, you do notice 2 humans in this tent that you've never met.
Okay, he would have picked up that there's some people that are not new, but he's assuming that they're part of the hall, the keep.
but no, hey, this is Edrim. He's been traveling with us since the dwarven.
Since you left, basically.
Yeah,
It was Citadel Felbar.
yeah.
Yeah, he did, and yeah, Jarral wouldn't know that you went to Citadel Felbar or anything that you learned in Citadel Felbar. Just keep that in mind as you guys continue.
So Jarl will say, it seems that I have some catching up to do. Well met, Edrim. He asks kind of with a question to make sure he's got the name right.
Edrim nods and says, indeed, greetings.
And he kind of looks a little sheepish and says, I apologize for having to leave, but it was, I may tell you about it someday, but it is taken care of, and I am back to assist in any way I can. And he looks kind of concerned in Ian's direction and says, what, you say 2 paths?
Yes, one that will lead us to a weapon that will aid us when attacking, when we are able and ready to attack Iron Slag and defeat Duke Zalto and his allies. And the other will take us to the spine of the world, to a location we are still not aware of, all of us. And we will seek out an oracle who may be able to tell us what is of the ordering and what Duke Zalto is planning. Both urgent and both time-consuming.
Okay, so one of these paths is to find a weapon to help Duke Zalto, and the other is to determine what Zalto's plan is?
Yes, one is to aid us in destroying Duke Zalto and his allies, and the other to understand what Duke Zalto's plans are.
Oh, I misunderstood that then. So the weapon is
We're
to
trying to
attack.
kill Duke Zalto.
Okay, so
Duke Zalto
okay,
bad.
Iron Slag. Iron Slag. Who is Iron Slag?
Iron Slag is a location up north.
Oh, all right.
That he lies in. That's where his lair is, and it's
I
highly
gotcha.
protected. And so we're just like, oh, we're like 6th level. We can't really do anything about that right now.
Okay.
He's
we're trying to-
forging. He's forging giant golems to crush cities and stuff. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, he's trying to make a weapon, and that's what the thing we had was. It was part of this huge ancient weapon that the dragons destroyed when they were attacking the giants during their war. And so Duke Zalto was looking for the pieces after it exploded across the land, and we have one of the pieces, or I think just one of the pieces, down in Citadel Felbar in their vault that is protected, so no one will ever be able to find it. So Duke Zalto has been, his like track has been like of building this weapon is going to take longer now because they have to rebuild certain parts of it that they were unable to grab. So we have time to go figure out, what's happening and to kill him, and that's sort of what's happening right now. We're in that path where, hey, here are the things to kill Duke Zalto and the fire giants.
So we must split up.
Yes.
And you notice
That has not worked.
Glavin Britterbow, who's also in the room, mentions and gestures to a map that's on the table, which is kind of the map that we can see that we're on, the basic general area. And he points to the spine of the world, so you guys can kind of see. Let me open up some of this for you. So the spine of the world is, these mountains all along this top area that kind of split the Desserin Valley and the Sword Coast from the northern lands. So you're definitely going to be going up into, the spine, all this stuff. And then he mentioned the Star Metal Hills, which you also notice is on this map not far from Xantharl's Keep and Mirabar, and not far from some of the other things that you've heard about. So the Star Metal Hills is kind of near some of the other things that you had on your list
Yeah, on the list.
of
So
other rumors and information that you had picked up from the townsfolk of Tribor. Just so you have all that in mind.
so
And actually, that map
Now-
probably shows you all of the Evermoors. So you can definitely see everything of the Evermoors. So you can see all this here. None of that should be covered anymore. There. So you have a good map of the Evermoors at this point. Or you're looking at one on the table.
Okay, so when you confirm that we're talking about splitting up, Jarl's just gonna quip that doesn't seem to have worked for us very well in the past.
I mean, times are dire. There are fire giants attacking and destroying, and I like open my hands and I look around where we are now, destroying towns. We may not have enough time to. We may not be able to afford the time to do both all together.
And
we
the
have-
2 times that we split up, was it not Jarl that left?
That's true. It was absolutely true.
Charles just gonna look blankly at Coffee, and
Coffee raises his eyebrow.
and he will just remark that I have meditated on this, and leave it at that.
Oh, come on now. And I push a beer at Jarl.
Yeah, they have
Though
brought,
I'm pretty sure I've never seen him drink.
I was gonna say you're just trying to loosen him up a little bit.
they did bring in water. There was a wine bottle, and there was several mugs of ale that they brought in and set on the table.
I'll take 2 glasses of wine.
There's
and I'll
there's
fill
breads
2
and
up.
cheeses also just sitting there for you to partake.
I'll fill 2 glasses up and I'll hand one to my haughty friend over here. Coffee.
Thank you.
Jarl will grab some.
Did you say
Cheese.
haughty or hottie?
Yeah,
She said haughty.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard there. I wasn't sure.
yeah.
Is there any
tea.
cream? I need some cream.
A little bit of sugar.
Is the lion in the tent?
Right?
Where else would he be?
He's
I have
always
no
there.
idea.
So, do we have any information on these other locations? And Jarl grabs some cheese and bread and water.
Well,
Greybeard takes the mug back from him. And it's like, oh, I thought so. And starts swigging it.
That's why you like Jarl so much, is because you always get his drinks. He should be like your best friend.
Jarl will just put his hand up and just say, "For you, for you."
All right. Thank you.
so the weapon can be found in the Star Metal Hills, which is northwest of Tribor. And the oracle is found somewhere along the spine of the world, which somebody knows more about. Was that G-Man or is that Harshnag?
So Harshnag, and I'll just probably during the walk to the tower, he might have given you a little bit more information. So he mentions to you that in the spine of the world, let me bring up my note again just real quick. Harshnag, there you are. So in the spine of the world, there is a place that is known, that the giants know, called Eye of the Allfather. And it's basically an ancient oracle that the giants had revered. And he believes that we can get more information about the ordning and what has happened from the oracle. And it will definitely give us a better understanding of what probably Duke Zalto or any of the other rampaging giants are doing, because it's not only fire giants that are rampaging across the world. And you have heard stories of other giants. In fact, you guys came across a battlefield of ice giants that had perished. There's been rumors of other giants doing other things, hill giants and stone giants and such. The other piece of information he gives you is that in the Star Meadow Hills, there is a settlement, a dwarven settlement called Twilight Tor. Now, normally the Star Meadow Hills is filled with all kinds of barbarian tribes, but this Twilight Tor is kind of hidden in the middle of Star Meadow Hills, and it's a place that he knows an acquaintance is from there, and you are going to talk to a dwarf named Yagnog Anvilspine. So Yognag, Anvilspine. And you're supposed to tell him that Harshnag is calling in a debt. And when you say that to him, he will be able to provide you with the legend and the whereabouts of the great weapon known as Fireweaver.
Yes.
It's something that Harshnag has heard about. It's not something he's had or seen or used, but it is something that he knows about, and he knows one of his acquaintances knows the location and more information about it, and that person lives in the Star Meadow Hills.
So we have to gather allies. We have to gather as much help as possible, not only for the fire giants, but also the rest of the giants and whatever they have planned now that the ordering has broken. And I don't believe we can do this as such a large group. I think we would be better off going 2 different paths for the same goal.
I agree.
And if we're all in agreement, it's time to decide where your path is going, where the path you're going to walk will be.
So Glavin, which you also happen to know is an agent of the Harpers, and you openly know Glavin Bitterbow is one of the agents. He mentions, I think I can help with the groups being able to communicate with each other over large distances. This will be able to help you to stay organized and informed of what each other's progress is, and whatever information you are able to glean, be able to pass it on to the other group, or communicate some type of rendezvous or meetup place at some point. And he puts on the table 2 stones.
7 iPhones.
Yeah, two
sorry.
iPhones. 2 stones that have dwarven runes carved into them and seem to faintly glow.
Do these look familiar? Do these look like the thing that
Those of you that are of a magical background can do an Arcana check to see if it's something you recognize.
I pick it up and say, "Can you hear me now?"
We actually had a set of these when we left
yeah.
to go to Zamorvan Hall.
Did you say they were dwarven runes?
Yes, dwarven
Okay.
runes.
Yeah, we've seen these before. Finn had them, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they seem similar to sending stones, but they are different.
They have more.
Say
have
more
more
charge.
images.
You know you want to.
Yeah.
They
Got a
more
better battery than the original one does. Right.
Higher
Fortunately, no
resolution.
One
headphone
doesn't melt
jack.
down.
Yeah.
It's the
Retina
Sending
display.
Stone 10.
XL.
I don't see enough bars on mine.
You don't get any coverage in the Evermores. You gotta.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
All right, cell phone jokes aside.
GLOL.
Yeah, they only use emojis, so that's how it works.
Emoji runes. New adventure.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That's how you get the millennials. And these stones just are they communication stones where we can speak to one another, send messages, or
Yeah,
are
he
they the next
mentions that you will
position?
be able to communicate with these, and unlike sending stones that are kind of one use and then you have to create them again, these are powered so that they do not need to be recharged or recreated, and they can be used more than once a day.
Oh man, so many jokes. Okay, well, these will be useful on this journey.
Just don't
I'll
lose your
pick one
charger.
up and say, I will take this one and accompany Harshnag towards the spine.
Well, land of ice and snow, that's probably where I belong to.
So the people that don't speak Dwarven and aren't magic people, they can't use these, right?
No, anybody can use them.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
We just aren't sure what they are or what to do with them.
Yeah. He explained they're just they're
Yeah.
definitely a more powerful version than the things you've used before.
Yeah, you just speak to them.
But anybody can use them. He shows you how to use them.
I asked for advice last night in my prayers, and Corellian told me to go north with Harshnag.
Jarl's gonna reach out for the other stone, and he's gonna comment that I'm drawn to the mystery of this weapon that we seek. I will go to Star Metal Hills.
And I say that I'd like to follow and find this weapon as well to bring it back into the fight.
We can tell that the background music has changed, just like in the Lord of the Ring meeting, as each decides the path they shall take. The serious
Nice.
moment of those sitting around the table, and then we look to Ian and Edrim, who still standing at the table or just to the outside of the back of the tent. Have not quite yet made their intentions known.
I know.
Edrim really could go either way, so I'm just seeing which side becomes unbalanced.
Oh, because we are an uneven group. That's correct. So what is it? Friend, GP, copy. That's 3 there. It's Ardreth. Oh man, which one do I want to do though?
You did count nod.
Oh, it's so
Again.
sad every time.
The spine of the world was Harshnag, Finn.
Is Nod
Coffee.
going after the weapon? Is that what you're saying, Finn?
Yeah, oh my god, is he splitting up with
Split
you?
the paladin.
He's breaking up with you.
Never split the paladin out.
That's rule number 1. I think not that you guys would know this necessarily, but don't make your decision based on like which classes are going, because we're going to bring in a group person to fill out the 4th. So that's out of
Yeah, we just did all the fighters just went into one party, didn't they?
Yeah, don't worry that it's monk, bard, druid. There'll still be a filler there.
There'll still be a hard hitter. I'm really torn. I've been torn about this like since you said it. Let's see.
You could play 2 characters because you just want to play in every game.
Yeah, right. I'll be the hard hitter for both groups. It'll be fine. Both groups need a glass cannon, right?
You can bring Nardu. She's still on the other side of the portal.
Oh, that's true. No, I haven't gone through. Remember, everybody. I just found out that everybody's fucked.
Yeah. So now you need a new group, anyways.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh fuck. I will say that
Roll a d2.
Roll a d2. I wouldn't be
I
able
think
to
it's
do
called
that
heads or
with
tails.
Just flip a coin. I
I'm
will
trying to keep in character here.
go for I believe it will be for the betterment if I were to go to the place that is called the to go
I would
to
say consult the Oracle, but
It's,
that
it's
kind
the
of
week.
implies-
It's the weekend cliffhanger.
Ooh.
Where will Ian go? Oh my gosh, I still wouldn't choose in the week. I will choose.
Yeah, we have
End of
12
season
choose
one.
Go
now.
to these. Yeah, I'll go to the spine of the world. I will follow that path. Yeah,
Right.
Yep. I mean, yep. Peg that one.
We
Yep,
see all
that one.
eyes turn to Edrim.
All right, I will head for the hills.
He's just like random ones. We're gonna split the group in 3.
He just
Cue up
turns-
the Iron Maiden.
He just turns into a lion and runs off.
Peace out.
All right. So yeah, we're and on that we probably end on our solemn note as the group has a final night or two together before they decide to leave Zymorvan Hall. And we'll decide how long it takes each group to make their way to where they're going. They each have ascending stones, so they're able to talk to each other, keep each other informed. And out of game, for those of you that are watching, what makes this really nice is that we'll be able to run 2 of the groups on some separate adventures in the Storm King's Thunder module. So we're going to get to see a lot more of the module than if we had just one group running around. We're going to be able to do quite a bit of character development between the 2 groups, and we still will be able to bring everybody together on a night like this where everybody's together if big battles happen in the future. So I think it's going to be pretty fun. And I think that's where we'll end tonight's session. So keep an eye out for more Storm King's Thunder. So the next Storm King's Thunder heading to the spine of the world will be on, let me bring up my calendar here, next week, Monday. After that, you will get a sneak peek of the new campaign called Dark Tides. And then on the 6th, we will continue the group that is heading to the spine of the world, going to the Eye of the All-Father Oracle. This Thursday, we will continue the Black Door campaign as normal. Then the 26th will be the first time that we have a little bit different group for the Black Door. We're going to rearrange that group a tiny bit. And then the second Thursday, 2nd of November, is the first session for the Storm King's Thunder group that is going to the Star Metal Hills to acquire the weapon Fireweaver, or at least they're hoping to. And that will be the start of our schedule and plenty more things to go on. So I'm excited with a lot of cool gaming coming up. We're going to see a lot of cool stuff. We may even see some new players in certain games. So keep an eye out as we continue on. I hope you enjoyed. You can check out the VODs on Twitch, and I will post this to YouTube. You usually got to wait about 24 hours, and then I can post it, and you can watch it there. And I recommend everybody go back, Jarral, and watch all of the episodes.
I'm trying, man.
Because
There's a lot of
cool,
episodes.
there's a lot of good stuff in there. Like the funeral and more giant fights. And
I'm up to episode
the
40,
Rug of
section
Smothering was a great episode.
Oh, the Rug of Smothering. Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't that titled Swept Under the Rug?
It should have been. If I was smarter, it definitely would have been.
And don't forget Finn's meat puppet that cost him really, really good armor.
That's true. Jarral didn't get hardly any of that. Smiles. He barely used Smiles.
Are you talking about the potential link to an actual army of barbarians to the south that you people let die? Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
Meat puppet.
Didn't we let him die twice?
Way to kill an arc.
The resurrected redemption story. Kill.
He was the red shirt sent in.
I told you to wash his armor, Finn.
Hey, when the
That
Elven
is the
Forest
best
gets burnt to the ground by those fire giants, I'm going to point to you and say, if we had a barbarian army, we'd been okay.
I would have said it was probably the barbarians who did it.
All right, so stay tuned for more, and we will be back. Plenty more gaming, especially now that we're hitting the fall and winter months, which is when there's always more games to be had. Glad you could join. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Brr.